MX2 guys. And the whole shot will be so critical, especially for those 250Fs. But it's the supremely confident Stefan Everts riding an unlikely number 7 for gets the gate that he wanted on the 450 Rinaldi Yamaha. So Everts takes the lead. Number Molson Kawasaki, the MX2 runner for Great Britain. Italian Antonio Cairoli, the team leader for the Italians, the 2005 World MX2 champion, has gone down. But this man, number 1, James Stewart, gets a terrific start. So James Stewart, who fought right the way through the season with Ricky Carmichael out of gravity cavity past the famous commentary tower, he had a mighty crash, so he's really pretty lucky to be in one piece. Poor Carmichael, not so fortunate. He was chasing James Stewart when he went down at Glen Helen 2 weeks ago. Oh, and already Stewart looking a bit edgy. The first African-American to win any motorsports championship to his first year as a professional rider. And he and Stefan Everts have just taken off at the front, with Villopoto getting a good start as well. He's in 3rd place, so Carmichael's absence, although Carmichael is here to cheer on his team, we thought that Carmichael's absence might affect their chances. But look at this, 30 minutes plus 2 laps. We have 3 of these electrifying races today. This is MX1 versus MX2. Then we have the open class versus MX2. And then MX1 versus the open class. Most of the open class right. Oh, and there goes Stewart down in exactly the same place as Steve Bomber Ramon went down. Oh, and he gets in the way of his teammate. So there are Floridian, here he goes. He just flicks a tear off and then momentarily loses his concentration, misses the rut that he needed to get that front wheel in right behind him, suffering a bad dislocation of his shoulder in a multiple pile-up at the final round of the British Championships at Hawkston Park. He won 3 events, of course, in his debut season in Supercross, interrupted by an arm injury at Phoenix. But he's come back strongly in 2006. 10 wins out of 18 rounds Stewart took in the Supercross series. And Gherkins to the USA. 1992, second again with Georges Jobet and Monique Bavolt. But he's certainly taken the win here. Stefan Everts takes the first race victory. New Zealand and Great Britain. But Everts takes the first victory. Stewart and Villopoto, though, are already well on the way for the USA. Comes out in the first 2 or 3 in the first turn. Could really stamp their authority on this race and indeed on this team championship. Oh, Bubba Stewart gets blocked off the start. Stewart gets rammed back by the broad shoulders of David Philippart, and he tucks in up the inside. And Philippart's did. He got a blazing start. Ramon's in there ahead of Stefan Everts and give them a well-deserved rostrum finish. And one of the Kawasaki's completely loses drive and loses 2 places as he turns just a little too tight and gets out of shape in the left-hander. That's going to make him surely a presence in MX1 next year. Stefan Everts and James Bubba Stewart are now ahead of Billy McKenzie. Leo 10th, Carl Nunn 11th as the second British rider, ahead of Yoshi Atsuta and Wyatt Davis. Fastest man on track on the last lap was James Stewart with a 2 minutes 9.225 second lap. As once again Coppins tries to line up Philippart. The overall victory, 16 to the USA, 23 to Belgium now. 56 to South Africa. But of course there are scores to be dropped. James Bubba Stewart, the stocky Floridian, is not far behind on that Kawasaki. Number 37, oh, look at that, Stefan Everts leaned on by James Stewart. He tried to lean back on Bubba, but it didn't work. Bubba just had the edge on him, and he pushed underneath. Now, Everts, of course, he's not used to, wow, he just retaliates. No, he doesn't. Bubba manages to get the drive back, but Everts isn't used to that sort of aggression. The youngsters have been a bit overawed by him this year in MX1. He's not used to people cutting underneath him like that and just attempting to take his foot pegs from under his feet. Get an American on the top deck of an individual race here as Everts goes for the inside line and drops into it. But Bubba Stewart is so aggressive, and he finds the inside rut again into the next turn. And this is Everts being shown what it's like to get some really attacking, forceful aggression thrown at him. Bubba Stewart on the big four-stroke Kawasaki. Now David Philippart, who of course is a relative novice, the tall, angular, handsome Italian riding the Red Bull champ KTM. But Bubba's looking for some way in. Bubba Stewart, who you'll notice is smaller than you think of him. You don't tend to think of him as being a small guy, but he's a little fella. He looks quite dwarfed by that Kawasaki, but it's Stefan Everts who's feeling the sting of the Kawasaki. New Zealand's chances have absolutely collapsed. Oh, what a shame. They looked in really good shape for getting themselves on the rostrum. Not any longer. Philippart leads it for Italy. Stewart second for the USA. Everts third for Belgium. Pourcel fourth for France. Ramon fifth for Belgium. And Tedesco sixth for the USA. That's a vital ride. If he ends up with 2 sixth places, they only have to drop 6 points, then that's going to mean that they've cakewalked the event and gone into a clear lead with 17 victories. Remember, they only won their first one in 1981, the event, but then they won 13 on the trot. They won again in 1996, in 2000 and in 2005. They are the defending champions. Before he landed on American shores at the end of 1980 to become boss of Honda America's racing activities. Oh, look at how close and fast these two guys swapping by. Oh, Everts, where did he pull that from? Feet pinned, he goes on the outside of James Stewart. Wow. Oh, what a pass. Stewart, though, instantly responds. Look how aggressive the American is, always looking for that inside rut. And if he can't get the inside rut, he'll make his own. He's back in front. And David Philippart is somehow holding on ahead of these guys. The last lap, 8.9 to 8.82. On challenging Philippart, then that will be spelled danger for the KTM rider. Steve Ramon just behind them. He set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap with a 2 minutes 8.0, his fastest lap of the race. Everts once again surges round the outside of James Bubba Stewart. What fabulous racing. This is what we wanted to see. Europe versus the USA. And what tantalizingly different styles. The new and most feared whiz kid on the block in the USA, James Stewart, himself to the front. Oh, Stefan comes up just a little short on the long tabletop then, because with having Philippart just in front of him also running up a bit short, you've got to be a bit careful and canny. Oh, look at this. And Steve Ramon crosses the line. Let's give it a try. Here comes Stefan Everts. He launches his way past number 37, David Philippart. Now, Philippart's pushed to second place. Belgium, 1 point for the win. 4 points for fourth right now. Philippart comes back. But the leader getting saluted by this crowd, this international crowd, Stefan Everts. On the bike at Dixon Yamaha, Swiss champion, having a poor day for the promoter Steve Dixon. And here comes Bubba Stewart. He's regrouped, he's launched his way past. Fastest man on the track on that lap was Jonathan Barragan in 6th place now for Spain. Oh, Josh Coppins has moved back to 12th. Nunny's in 10th place. Billy McKenzie has dropped to 9th behind Ivan Tedesco because Barragan and Tanel Leok of Estonia have launched themselves through to 6th and 7th place behind Sebastian Pourcel. He also raced, of course, for Motovision Suzuki. Look at this. The unmistakable style of Stefan Everts. Can he hang it together? Joel Robert, the man who inspired the kid, as well, of course, as his dad, who won 4 world titles himself, Harry Everts. Joel Robert, a former winner with Belgium, of course, of the Motocross of Nations. Back in 1969 at Farley Castle in Great Britain, the Belgians were with the winners. And Joel Robert and Roger de Costa, now opposing captains of teams here, were, of course, members of that great Belgian team, alongside Tuison and Sylvain Gabors, who's now the Suzuki Grand Prix road race, motocross racing boss. Talking about road racing, is it? Look at this contender in the British Superbike Championship with the Red Bull Honda team. He arrived, got a flight in from Belfast very late on Friday night.
Suggestion to James right now to try to pass Stefan, or just to keep the position like that?
The main thing is to finish and not screw up, you know. If all we need is 5th place now to win overall. So it would be nice, you know, it's nice to see a good battle, and it would be nice to beat Stefan, but that's secondary. The first thing is to to win the nation.
Written at Farley Castle, Wiltshire in 1969, and then he won again at Norg in the Netherlands in 1972. And again the following year at Wallen in Switzerland. And then in 1976, St. Antonis in the Netherlands. 1977 at Cognac in France. And I presume that the best of the last race, the better last race score might count, which would put Italy to the forefront, with Philip Out presently in 4th place, Josh Coppins down in 10th. He'll be able to relax a bit. He'll be able to relax that astonishing regime and be able to just let go a little bit of that motivation until, of course, the Western Beach race on October the 22nd, when he'll be right there, like the sandfly that he is, having a ball. A podium place for the Kiwis. Well, would you believe it? All the way over at the other side of the world, they could be headed for their 3rd rostrum behind the USA and Belgium. Their 3rd rostrum finish in MX des Nations history. Wonderful. Let's hope my maths are right. Stefan Everts wins the 3rd race. Yet again, proves just how good he is. James Stewart in 2nd place. Stefan waits for Bubba, and let's hope that these guys sporting and congratulating one another. What a pair of racers they are. James Bubba Stewart and Stefan Everts, a pair of legends. Stefan Everts, well, he's never been the greatest loser in the world, but I tell you what, he's a terrific winner. Cody Cooper gets another place as well, and it could be, therefore, that Cooper's done enough to really ensure that New Zealand have got themselves on the rostrum. But I tell you what, these guys know that they're on the rostrum. James Stewart on the left, and on the right, Ivan Tedesco. So finally, this European crowd, and look at the size of it, gets to see, well, in all fairness to Ivan Tedesco, 2 American legends, Team Motocross Championships. Belgium in 2nd place. My goodness me, I was right about New Zealand. Fantastic ride by both Josh Coppins with Kevin Strybos and Steve Ramon, and their Steve manager, the utterly legendary, I'll just stub out this cigarette on your handlebars before I beat you, Joel Robert. 2-1. There's Georges Jobet in the orange KTM shirt, just walking across the forefront there. 5-time world champion himself, and of course a former winner of the Motocross des Nations. In the foreground, he's here, even if injured and unable to ride. Good to see RC on the rostrum. So the Stars and Stripes celebrate another victory, a momentous victory, the 17th, the only nation to win this magnificent trophy 17 times now. Ricky Carmichael, and look at that, what a lovely picture. Carmichael on the right, Everts on the left, 10 times champions of the world and America.